My best greetings to all of you at the CC Forum in Zurich. I had very much wanted to be there, but my appointment as the advisor to the Prime Minister, advisor to the Chief Minister here in Malaysia, in the state of Sabah, made actually it impossible to join you because, first of all, they published the 61st edition, language edition of my book, The Blue Economy. This is the edition 5.0. And we have here a meeting of the representatives of the 10 ASEAN countries. We're talking about the high growth economies outside India, outside China, and of course outside Japan. These 10 countries are really looking at where is the blue ocean strategy. And the blue economy represents for them one of the greatest opportunities. And this is what amazes me when I look at climate change investments, when I look at the funds that are being mobilized. The amount of funds and resources mobilized here is a multiple, and it's a multiple not talking about China, India, Japan, Korea. It's a multiple talking about Laos, talking about Cambodia, Thailand, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia. And it is exactly these countries that are driving forward that blue ocean strategy, which means these strategies where there is massive opportunities for growth. And when you have massive strategies for growth, then you can have massive strategies for raising capital as well and investing the capital. And I have been advised to advise them, and we have agreed today on two main sectors. First of all, we focus on communications for the blue economy. You would say communications, yes. Imagine that I'm giving you a country where you would be in charge of, and I tell you, you will develop the economy, but there is no satellite connection, there's no fiber optics, there's no 5G, there's no Wi-Fi, and there is no GPS. What would you tell me? You would say, but it's impossible. We first need to have the data. We need to have the communications. Well, this is exactly what we have done with the economy of the oceans. The oceans and life inside water bodies is 91% of the total space on Earth, and we don't communicate. We have no satellite connection. When you're deep in the water diving, you don't have a GPS position. No underwater cable is put with the actual knowledge of where did you actually put it. We don't know it. This is amazing. We have no Wi-Fi. We have no connection. The only talk that we can do is over sonar. And when it rains, it doesn't work. So we know that the first thing we need is develop a massive infrastructure for communications in the water. And here comes the good news. Tomorrow I'm flying to Palau, where I will be holding with the president of Palau, who I met for the first time in Dubai at the CC Forum. We will be seated inside the water on a chair with about a water body of 10-15 meters above us. And we will be talking to each other. For the first time in history, we start talking in the water using light. These kind of breakthroughs is what we need. But when the information gets with light to a buoy, then we're transmitting the data not to a satellite because it doesn't have the bandwidth. We transmit the data with AM radio. Ladies and gentlemen, AM radio plus light revolutionizes the way we will communicate in and around the oceans. And that is blue economy. We expect in the order of $100 billion to be invested in these infrastructures, because for the first time we will be able not just to talk in the water, we will be able to communicate. We will have our autonomous vehicles like drones, and we will have our underwater robotics all talking to each other instead of going into the water and losing each other. That is the first area. The second area is that we are focusing on renewable base load energy. You know, we talk all the time about renewables, but let's face it, renewables are not able to respond to the needs that we have when we are on an island. You need it 24/7. And all of a sudden, we have decided that we use wind and solar and a little bit of wave here and there, but everything is intermittent, nothing is 24/7. So our focus of the investments that will be done in Southeast Asia, within the ASEAN, will be sources of power that will generate power 24 hours a day, 7/7. And that is why we will see the solar and the wind power offshore not turning obsolete, but we'll see that its return on investment is going to be so small compared to the new technologies that are coming up. And one of the new technologies is not the wave technology, but it is the swell technology. As the Earth is moving around its axis, water gets moved at this high speed of turning, and as a result, water in the ocean expands and contracts. And this creates what we call swell. Swell technology, when you put a big steel plate over it like a barge, you have small pistons underneath, you will be generating just with 2,000 square meters, 1 megawatt. And no 30-meter wave will turn it around, and no typhoon or no hurricane will damage it. That's the kind of technologies we need. It's baseload, and since it is resilient to the bad weather that we will have more and more, we will be able to get insurance. And by placing this strategically in front of the coast, we will also stop the erosion of the coastal zones. That is one of the technology that we are putting in place here in Southeast Asia, for which money is available immediately. Because if you talk baseload and hurricane resilient, then you have financing. But this also means that we have a completely different business model before us. If you place this before a coastline, then you make the mathematical modeling with all the benefits you get for the protection of the coastline and the generation of power. But now that you have baseload, you will have excess power, and that excess power we can transform immediately on site into hydrogen. Now we're having along the coast hydrogen refueling stations. Ladies and gentlemen, the opportunities are enormous. Max has given me 10 minutes and I'm using them as much as I can. But I want to give you a little bit of the appetite. What is happening in Southeast Asia? You know, in the geopolitical debates, we talk about China, America, India, Russia. But the big drivers are countries like Indonesia, with more than 200 million people, Malaysia, 50 million people, Vietnam, 100 million people, Thailand. You talk about countries we hardly have in our mind when we talk about the geopolitics, but they're the countries that have these enormous need to provide the jobs, to provide the water, to provide the food security. And this is where we see growth and investment opportunities that will immediately be embraced locally. And the business models they're going for are inspired by nature, give better returns, and in the end of the day, will do what we want, transition towards a sustainable economy. When I'm back in Europe, let's talk about this. Let's meet and discuss how we can be inspired by this tremendous drive to have a blue ocean strategy with high growth opportunity, but with principles that are, of course, zero emissions. Thank you all, and be well. Enjoy Zurich. I'm sorry to miss you.